Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with a Risk of Rain 2 video. And this is going to be a little bit of a short series I just plan to do, demonstrating a few different runs, covering equipment a little bit, just showing you guys the game. But I want each video to sort of focus on a different character and touch on the unlockables you currently have. Now there are still 4 characters that are locked out that are under construction. We're not going to be getting these, I'm not sure for how long. They should be out by the time early access is done, but that's still undisclosed amount of time. You can, I do believe, unlock the bandit and the sniper with some editing in the game's files, but I'm kind of waiting to see how those are at actual release rather than making any judgments or advice right now. Regardless, today we're going to be covering MUL-T, who's arguably one of the more overtuned or definitely more powerful characters you can get. He's actually also one of the easiest characters to get. Depending on how good you are at the game, how fast you pick things up, whatever, it's likely that he's probably going to be either the first or second character you get. The only requirement for him is to complete the challenge called Verified. That simply means you need to beat the first stage 5 times, or complete the first teleporter event 5 times. The reason I say he may be the first or second is because if you do, you can get the Huntress fairly easily as well. You simply need to complete the 3rd teleporter event without dying, which is fairly easy as well. But regardless, MUL-T definitely a pretty strong character. What does he have going for him? Well, he's able to carry 2 different sets of equipment, which is really awesome. He's also got 2 different attack modes. So he's got an auto nail gun, which is 60% damage. Base damage for all heroes, I do believe, is 12, except maybe the engineer. I think the engineer actually has a different damage profile. He also has an alternate fire mode that he can swap to, which gives him a single shot railgun, which you guys will see once we're in the game. That one is a hit scan, as far as I'm aware, and does a lot of damage. You can one-shot a lot of the smaller nasties in the game. Finally, he does have Blast Canister, or actually, well, then he has Blast Canister, which is a stun canister that drops stun bomblets. It does a good chunk of damage and can definitely hit a large AoE. And finally, he's got transport mode, which allows him to sort of zip around at high speeds, do some damage when he collides with enemies. Otherwise, it gives him more armor and speed, and I think that's pretty nifty. He can also switch primary fire, as you can see here. The railgun that as I called it, is actually the rebar puncher. So there you go. It's not actually a railgun. I simply call it that because I'm silly. But either way, MUL-T does have, jumping into a game, MUL-T does have some issues or some disadvantages. One, his ranged damage is definitely, he struggles a bit against long range targets because the rebar puncher shoots fairly slowly, and this will be a fairly drawn out playthrough. I do plan to sort of clean through most of the levels, or entire levels if possible, just to sort of cover different equipment types. But MUL-T does have some issues at longer range because his minigun, as you can see, is very, very inaccurate, and his rebar puncher is just very, very slow firing. So at long range, he definitely struggles. He is a very beefy character. He has a lot of HP. You can see 200 HP. That's, depending on which character, that's over 2 times more than the Huntress gets. And I'm actually stuck with all randos here. Get a Rusty Key. Not to say what I wanted, but what can you do? The Rusty Key does give you a chance to get an extra item on every level afterwards, which is pretty awesome if you're able to find the lockbox. But MUL-T definitely does struggle at long range. That said, at close range, his minigun can absolutely shred enemies. He's also incredibly powerful against bosses. The minigun, obviously, against the boss, the accuracy doesn't really matter. Most of the bosses in this game are massive and really, really hard to miss. So the minigun does really rather well against those. It should also be noted that the rebar puncher, as you can see, pierces enemies, which does make it decent against clumps if you're able to, say, line your enemies up. So, for example, if you manage to get one of the items that creates sort of black hole that sucks enemies in, then you can get a pretty powerful sort of burst of damage. There's the teleporter. In one of the recent patches, the teleporter actually had the fireflies around it were increased in radius, I do believe, so now it's easier to spot. We're not going to be picking up turrets because I simply don't think they're really worth it. Otherwise, MUL-T's, his mobility's okay. I'm not sure I'd rank it as super high. His ability to sort of zip around does have a fairly lengthy cooldown, which is definitely a bit of a disadvantage. Now this boy over here is going to burn me if I stay too close, so we don't want to stay too close to the burning marine. You can see that we're able to knock him out just fine. I did want to scout around over here, see if we can find anything else. Not just drone over here, which, you know, that could be useful. drones can be nice. Otherwise, we're going to keep scouting a little bit, see if we can get any additional items. I don't want a turret. Turrets aren't bad necessarily, but definitely a bit of a waste of money, I'd say. You're probably going to get more out of either the XP or the... probably going to get more out of either the XP or just getting items faster than you will out of paying cash for turrets. Now here we do have a chest. Now there are different ways you can play this game. MUL-T is definitely one of the better heroes for blitzing through because unlike, for example, and this is actually, we got backup magazine, which is a really awesome item. You can do second charge of your secondary skin. Or secondary ability. It's good for most heroes. Definitely very good for MUL-T because his secondary is fairly powerful. Not necessarily the best on some of the others. Engineer definitely not that good, but it's definitely a nifty little item. MUL-T benefits a lot from on-hit skills as are on-hit abilities as well because minigun can just hit so many times. You can really melt through bosses that are like multiple targets that way. Also, on-hit healing abilities definitely very powerful with MUL-T. Because you can generally get solid value out of him just because you fire so fast. I'm not sure if he's the fastest firing, or if the commando is faster firing. Healing drone's definitely very nice. A little bit of a lag spike there, not entirely sure why. But we're gonna zip on out. And as you can see, when you activate your armor from zipping around, it actually mitigates damage from falls as well, which is pretty cool. An Old War stealth kit. Now this is kind of meh. It gives you a chance that you turn invisible when you get hit, and the chance is increased if the damage is greater. So it scales somewhat, but it's really not that powerful of an item. Definitely one of my less favorite items in the game. It's not the least favorite. We're definitely taking a good chunk of damage here that we don't want to be taking. But fortunately, our grenades have a fairly short cooldown. We do have double charges on them. And of course, being MUL-T, we're very, very tanky, so we don't have to concern ourselves too much. It's also worth noting that MUL-T is one of the heroes whose damage falls off and is less, and you can see we're actually almost dead, which is really bad. Shows how badly I'm playing right now. But MUL-T is one of the characters whose damage falls off at longer range, so it doesn't even have to be supremely long range, really. You can fire at targets just a little bit further than point blank, and your minigun will be doing a lot less work. So that's definitely a little unfortunate. Definitely can make life difficult in certain situations. I do recall there was a big chest here somewhere. There we go. And these guys are just not leaving me alone. And my healing drone doesn't seem inclined to come heal me. So, good stuff. We're going to swap over to minigun now. This is actually a good item here, Leeching Seed, since it activates every time you hit. And you get... Now, granted, it's not the most amazing item. Healing in this game relative to the first Risk of Rain, healing is significantly worse. You just don't get as much relative to your overall HP from most items on hit. But it can still be pretty game changing and very beneficial. And I just face tanked the shot there, which is not the brightest move. Don't face tank shots, guys. That's something I do because I'm bad at the video game. Regardless, we are going to try to go back to the teleporter. I do believe at this point we've sort of cleared everything. I think there's a rando shrine, but we can do that at the end of the level. For sure. I did think there was something here. There we go. There's actually an equipment. This is going to be our first equipment of the day. We'll see what it is. It's actually not bad. Backup is an okay ability. It lets you call in 4 drones, which is pretty awesome. We're actually going to make ourselves a little more resistant to fall damage by racing off a cliff in our car mode there. And I actually missed this box because I'm dumb. And so that's actually going to be another little item here. Monster Tooth, not that great. The healing orb I think only heals for about 4 HP, so you're not going to get too much out of it. Tougher Times, very solid. I think it's a 14% chance to block damage. Now it's not an additive stack. So it's not like you have a 14% chance to block damage and then 28% or whatever. It's going to be 14% of the remaining 86%. So definitely don't be expecting to simply become invincible with tougher times. You can definitely come very close. You can have an almost non-existent chance of taking damage if you get enough tough times, but it's definitely not going to be something that's super easy to get. You will need a lot of tougher times, so you'd need probably a 3-gift burner, which to pump them out. Not entirely sure. I remember doing the math with a friend of mine on it, and you definitely need a lot. Now, unfortunately, we got another Old War Stealth Kit, which, like I said, not the greatest item ever. Definitely a little lackluster, but what can you do? You can see these little green orbs. That is the healing from the monster tooth. But yeah, not the most exciting thing ever for sure. I think it's only 4 HP, so that guy's just annoying me. He's just like pestering me there. We've almost got the teleporter charge. You can see we're just mowing through enemies. MUL-T definitely very forgiving. He's got so much HP. You can see we're up to 440. You would never get that with other heroes. A hero like the... we didn't even have to use it. We didn't even use our drone summon there, which I just completely forgot about. We're going to use it, and then we'll make sure to use it in the next level. But we're going to try to get some stuff. Now... Bustling Fungus is very powerful for characters like the Engineer, characters that have, because it affects his turrets. I actually got Double Bustling Fungus. But unfortunately, not the greatest item. In this game, you don't want to be standing still. And you, by later game, once things are much more hectic, the simple reality is you're not going to have time. You're not going to have the opportunity to stand still. So, Bustling Fungus, definitely not the greatest item for most characters. If you've got a choice, I'd recommend most other stuff. I definitely think that right now the strongest healing item, and we'll see if we get it in this run, is the Cautious Slug, because it gives you a good chunk of regen just when you're outside of combat. Regardless, MUL-T is definitely one of the better heroes at not having to worry too much about... he doesn't have to worry too much about what items he gets, because his items are just very, very solid. And as you can see here, we gained a whole bunch of gold and basically nuked ourselves. And now, it is worth noting that fall damage cannot kill you in this game. It's going to take a percentage of your health. The longer the drop, the more damage. It can potentially come very close to killing you, to the point that any enemy like clipping you will be the end of you. But Chrono Bobble's okay. It slows enemies by 60% for like a second or 2 seconds or something. Definitely not the most useful item, but also not terrible. Now this level actually is a secret that I'll try to at least show. It's solo or without the Engineer. It's actually a very tough secret to open. But there's a gate to like an old aqueduct that you can open, and you have to find specific buttons to. And there's 2 buttons on the map. You have to push both down at the same time. We got Alien Head. That is awesome. Gonna reduce all our cooldowns, but it's a very difficult. Well, not necessarily difficult. Definitely a tedious unlock to find, and also basically. Very difficult if you're playing solo. You have to push these the barrels that are scattered around the level onto the button. If you don't have a partner, or if you don't have turrets to place down on them. But that's why the Engineer can do it, while others cannot. So we have found the teleporter, which is definitely very nice. I'm trying to sort of look for the buttons as well. Now the buttons will spawn around rocks. Every button is going to be near a rock. So if you're curious to find them, yeah, look by the rocks. It's one of the, I do believe, 2 secrets that we've got available, or 2 secret sort of unlocks that are currently available in the game. There isn't much more. There's one on the swamp level as well. Let's see. Oh, I think we'll take tougher times again. The Alien Head for that cooldown reduction is just so sweet. A little less useful on MUL-T than it is on some of the other characters, in my opinion. It's so powerful. It's just a generally good item. Red items in this game are generally pretty dope. Let's see. And I'm going to try to find the buttons for you guys just to sort of demonstrate what they look like, so then if you're ever playing on your own, you can kind of check them out. They're like little brown just circles near rocks. They can definitely be a little difficult to spot, and I do believe there's something that can also be a graphical glitch where they just don't show, because I remember the time I actually got the achievement, I was actually on accident. I just put my turret down in a spot near a rock to protect the turret, and it gave me the confirmation for the activation, so it was pretty odd. Oh, I'm actually broke. I wasn't even paying good attention because I'm so busy talking. As you can see, we're doing pretty well now. Unfortunately, one of the cool things, again, to deal with mobs, you always want on-kill items. Items that sort of have some sort of explosive or AoE effect when you kill people. And unfortunately, I just don't have any of those. So, for me right now, killing mobs, it's definitely more than a little bit tedious. It's definitely more than a little bit difficult. What's that? Actually, oh, Berserker's Pauldron. So, this is an item I've only had a few times so far. That's why I was like, I didn't even recognize it at first. It does, if you kill enemies within, like, I think a second and a half of each other or something, it's a very, very short time frame. If you kill 3 enemies within a short time frame of each other, you get a huge increase to your damage output, which is pretty slick. Now, there's our teleporter. I do believe we actually already opened that box. We did. But before we go to the teleporter, like I said, I did want to show you guys the button. So we're going to go on a little bit of an excursion. Going to go look. Fortunately, I can't climb through there. The chances are the buttons are also in the other half of this map right now. So it looks like they're not here. So they're probably elsewhere. Because that's like a good way of sort of deciding they're not here. If they're not here, they're probably elsewhere, guys. I'm smart. Stun grenade, a very good item. It's a 5% chance to stun enemies on hit. And so obviously for MUL-T, who fires crazy fast with his minigun, it actually is a decent chance. Now the chance increases the more stacks. So every item in this game, the chances or the damage or the effect will increase with additional stacks. I'm actually going to hit this shrine to get some more cash. That's how the life shrines in this game work. You trade HP for money, which is pretty cool. So, oh, there we go. Here's a button. So I don't know if this button spawned randomly, but if you push down this button and there's a second one like it somewhere on this map that I just haven't found, and that will open this gate right here, and then you can, well, then you get access to fighting 2 giant Lemurians. So spoiler alert there, and that will unlock 2 unique items for you. It's the challenge is called Till Death Do Us Part, and it's a really, really, the items are really, really cool. Now here we've actually got 2 really good items, Soldier Syringe and Cautious Slug. I think I'll take with Soldier Syringe, which increases my attack speed. But Cautious Slug will increase your regen outside of combat, which is pretty dope. Like I said, to push the 2 buttons, you either need to play Engineer so you can drop turrets on them, push those barrels that have been exploding onto it, or barring those things, bring a friend. And if all you have to do, you don't have to have 2 people standing on it at the same time. You simply have to have, you don't have to have them standing at the same time to hold the door open. You simply have to have 2 things on it at one time, and that is going to be enough. After that, the door slides open, and you don't have to worry about it again. The door will simply stay open. So regardless, the Beetle Queen, definitely one of the easier bosses in this game. The Stone Giant has those homing lasers and the fists that shoot out of the ground. The Beetle Queen just summons beetles and spits like these acid balls. But she's really a pretty weak hero, and you can see just how badly bosses hold up against MUL-T. I'm just melting her because she's such a big target. At this range, the minigun is doing boatloads of damage, and she's not really able to keep track or track me at all. So there we go. Beetle Queen's gone. Incredibly quick kill. Basically just showing how ridiculous MUL-T is. Now here we go. We got another on-hit item, the anti-tank guided missile Model 1. It's simply an on-hit chance, or that, I think it's like 5% or something, that you'll have a missile fire off. Maybe it's like 8% or something weird. But it's a chance that you have a rocket fire off. Now the rocket doesn't do the most amazing damage, but it is extra damage. And every bit of extra damage does add up. Never underestimate how much of a difference it can make. And you can see I'm stealth right now because of the Old War stealth kit, so that's definitely kind of cool. I do wish I had an ability to just on kill, so that if I killed my opponent or killed the enemy here, they'd like explode, or it would launch, or something that would launch like a firestorm tornado or whatever. There's different items like that in the game. I really wish I had one of them. I could actually, I'm going to call in the drones. You can see there they are. We've got 4 drones there, so you guys can see what those look like. A lot of fun. You can see they're just burning these guys down. We got 4 strike drones. They only last for, I do believe it's 15 or 25 seconds, something like that. Not the longest duration summon, but definitely pretty decent. And now we've actually dealt with the teleporter, so I can actually leave. Certainly we could try to keep leaning these up. Enemies will keep spawning after the teleport is complete, which is why I kind of don't really care to stay around. And we're gonna get the heck out of here. Now this is the 3rd level, Rally Point Delta, which is always the same level. So you've got alterations on the 1st and 2nd level. The 3rd and 4th are always the same. The 3rd is always Rally Point Delta. This cool little ice map. And the 4th is always, well, you'll see in a bit. It's always the Abyss of Depths. There's no secrets on this map that I know of. I don't think there's actually anything over there across the boxes. And I will note one thing here. The Newt Shrine, you can give up lunar coins to Newt Shrines, and it will actually, or Newt altars, and it will actually, one, it counts for an achievement, the Newtist, where you need to give up, where you need to use 8 different lunar shrines, and it'll also open up a blue portal for you, and you can use that blue portal to unlock the Artificer. So I'll be going over that more in the Artificer's own video, how to exactly unlock her. But Newt altars do grant you the blue portal, and so they're pretty cool in that sense. Lets you get access to potentially additional access to items and additional access to lunar items, which is kind of dope. Now I'm kind of wasting my time here killing these guys when I should probably be exploring and getting more stuff. So we've got the Cautious Slug again. We've got a shield generator. The shield generator is pretty terrible. It only gives you 25 more HP. Armor piercing rounds increase damage against bosses by 20%. So it makes MUL-T, who's already an amazing boss killer, even more amazing. As you might have noticed, I'm not really using the rebar puncher very much. This is because most of the fighting I'm doing is at close quarters, and at close quarters the rebar puncher just does not hold up unless you have something to force your enemies to line up. If you do, it's actually not a bad item in that sense, because it pierces. But otherwise, I think the rebar puncher is only really useful against flyers. It's good against like the annoying little wisps, which can definitely. But the problem is that it fires so slowly that oftentimes what you'll find is that you're not killing them fast enough. You can see here it's kind of a struggle. We're killing them one at a time, and sure, it's a one-shot, which is awesome, but it still takes so much damage. And so we're gonna swap to our minigun mode there. See what we got over here. We're going to take the X-ray glasses. X-ray glasses, or they're actually the lens maker's glasses. It gives you a 10% chance to crit opponents, which is very awesome. You can see it does double damage when we crit, which is pretty nuts. It's like a slick little ability. We get a chest, which is awesome. More AP rounds. And over here, this is the chest that we got from the Rusty Key. And this is our first on-kill skill. So now we got gasoline, which means enemies will explode in a fireball. And catch enemies on fire near them. So it's pretty awesome. On-kill skills, very useful in this game for clearing mobs. Some characters really struggle to deal with mobs. For example, the Commando is absolutely god-awful at mob clearance. You don't get items. Here's a pretty cool item, Predatory Instincts. It potentially increases my attack speed whenever I run into crits. So it stacks really nicely with, for example, the Lens Maker's Glasses. Now we could get another banana mag. We could get a banner. Now personally, I don't like the war banner. What it does is it increases your attack speed and your damage output when it's active. But the way the war banner is activated or dropped on the ground is when you level up. So you don't really have a control over it. You have absolutely no control over when the war banner is dropped. And this is why I'm not too fond of the item. I think what we'll do is we're already fairly mobile. We're gonna get a second backup mag. So. That gives us another charge of our grenade skill, which is just awesome. And you can see the wisps there. Once we've got an AoE skill, because they've got such low HP, they're actually much easier to kill. But what we're going to try to do here is squeak our way out. And you can see we got snared there a little bit. We don't want to stay tied down too much. Definitely getting tied down in this game is a recipe for disaster. Infusion, not the most useful item. It gives you 100 more HP potentially. You get 1 extra point of HP for every enemy you kill. Until you've gotten 100, then it no longer gives you additional HP. Those boys are definitely very annoying. Over here, you can see there's a teleporter. So we have found the teleporter, which is pretty awesome. And now we have rocket pods. So what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to swap. And now we've got rocket pods. They do, well, what you'd expect. They fire rockets. There's not much to be said. And you can actually see those rockets have an on-hit chance of producing additional rockets. Which is kind of funny. For sure. I'll try to clear these guys out. And zip on over. I do still want to collect a few more items before we bump on over to the next event, to the next level. Just demonstrate kind of the whole map and all that sort of thing. So over here we got a nice little crate, which gives us another energy drink, makes us go a little faster. Over here we've got all these items that we've already got. We're gonna take an AP ammo again. Now these are 3D printers, so potentially we could print out a whole bunch of tough times and make ourselves super tanky. I'm not gonna do that here. It's not really my intent. To make a super tanky build, but 3D printers can be stupid powerful. If you print out like a bajillion teddy bears, a bajillion tough times, you can be borderline invincible, like legitimately. The problem is that you do sacrifice other items, so I'll be sacrificing random white level items for the tough times. So actually, you know what, I'm going to show you guys how it works. At least you can see I gave up an AP ammo there. I don't get to choose what item I give up, which sucks. If you could choose, it would probably be better. You can see I do get a tough times in exchange. Now, fortunately, I'm multi, so the loss of the AP is not really that valuable. But a lot of times you can lose a valuable item if you try to. So only really use 3D printers if it's for an item you know you want. If it's an item you know you're going to use. Over here we do have another equipment box. The Milky Chrysalis allows you to fly for a little bit. Not really the most valuable item, in my opinion. It can be fun. It's definitely entertaining and silly and looks a bit cool for sure. But definitely one of my lower. And there we go. We got a war banner. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pick it up just so you guys can see the graphical effect of the Milky Chrysalis. Because each thing does have its own graphical effect. You can see I've got wings on my back now. And if I activate it, you can see I can fly. So that's the Milky Chrysalis in action. I don't really care for it. But it's a fun little item. It lets you fly. And it can definitely be useful for more mobility. If you don't get good mobility items or something like that, it can definitely be a bit nifty in that situation. Unfortunately, these chests over here, these ones with a timer, if you reach this level before the 10-minute mark, you will actually get a unique weapon. Now this, and that's actually how you unlock the weapon. It's called a Prion Accelerator. It's stupidly powerful, really strong piece of equipment. Once you've got it unlocked, you can randomly spawn from chests, just like every other. We got a red whip that speeds us up, I think 40% more speed out of combat. It's definitely pretty cool. But once you've unlocked the Prion Accelerator once, you don't have to worry about unlocking it again. It'll simply become a random drop. So definitely not bad. It's a very useful item. And I forgot, I actually missed this earlier. So we don't have the best items here. What we're going to do is we're going to take the shield generator. You can see I've got that little blue bubble around myself now. And we're going to go activate the portal. We haven't even cleared out all the enemies, but you can't clear them out for good anyway, so who cares? Is that a thing I did? Look at me, I can't even find stuff correctly. So we're going to pop this, we're going to see what we have to fight. It might be a magma worm. Magma worms tend to spawn on this map. Imp Overlord, so that's that ugly big boy over there. We're going to call in our backup. Imp Overlord, unfortunately, kind of hiding away all the way out there at long range. And you can see how much less damage I'm doing at long range. So definitely a little bit of weakness there. And you can see how much more it is at point blank. We're basically doing double damage at such short range, which is really a pretty big difference. What we're going to do now is we're going to activate our missile pods. And now we're going to try to unload on this bad boy. Because we have a lot of damage output. We definitely have some very good boss melting damage output. You can see down at the bottom left my stacks of Frenzy. Or not Frenzy, whatever it is. The Predatory Instincts. And you can see that we are capable of using our zippiness a little bit there. Unfortunately, not ideal. I should probably be using my AoE stun here much more. You can see the Imp Overlord getting a little tilted there. And you can just hear the kind of crits and damage we're doing. This guy's not going to last much longer. We're able to focus him. We do a lot of damage. And he is sent back to the warp from whence he came. So definitely some brutal stuff. And you can see we're actually not able to shove some of the bigger enemies. We can't shove them aside with our speed mode. So definitely be wary of that. We almost got all our charges or all our stacks done there. You can see we're just melting these guys with our, especially as we throw out grenades. It just does so much damage. We're actually able to leave, so we're gonna leave because we don't want to get stuck here forever just fighting endless waves of enemies. I actually could have now that I think about it, I could have activated the random shrine one more time, just seeing if I got something new. But oh well, what can you do? Mistakes were made, fellas. And this is the final level at the moment. Now the game basically just loops after this point. So once we beat this level, basically stuck. Oh, we got another tough times. We could print more tough times. That'd be pretty hilarious. But I'm not looking to do like an invincibility build or anything. If you get those tough times, and you can see over there in the distance, the Magma Worm, just a nasty piece of work. Magma Worms are one of the most powerful bosses in the game, probably. Very frustrating to play against. Some Hermit Crabs over here. These guys shoot. They're like an artillery piece. They'll fire at you from really long range, and it's incredibly difficult to play against. Magma Worms are actually a boss, and later on, as the difficulty increases, you can see it's the difficulty counter in the top right. We're now up to Insane, and as that difficulty climbs higher, you'll actually start fighting bosses just as generic enemies, basically. They sort of just randomly appearing. Unfortunately, we're probably going to have to deal with this worm, because he is going to be an absolute pain in the rear otherwise. There we go, Bell over there. Now what do we get? We got a personal shield generator, which absolutely sucks. I'm going to be harsh here. Say the personal shield is Garbo. We're actually going to summon our drones because we don't want to fight Greater Wisps alone. Greater Wisps are pretty nasty. They can do a lot of damage. Now you can dodge them. As you can see, they fire those balls of energy that are very dodgeable. But definitely a pretty tough nut regardless. We're going to swap just so we can... You do have to swap weapons to activate your items. Each item is assigned to a specific mode, so do keep that in mind as well, guys. We actually got a sticky bomb. This is another fun item. It randomly attaches sticky bombs to enemies, which detonate and do a whole bunch of damage. Once again, I think it's like a 5 or 8% chance or something awkward. So we got rid of that wisp. We actually got rid of most of that worm, I think. I hope. That worm, though, absolutely brutal. You can see we lost a lot of HP. Definitely not where we want to be in life. The worm is definitely a little bit... Actually, I lied. We've done, like, nothing to him. Look at how much HP that bugger's got. Here we've got more artillery pieces. They're just kind of camping over here because they're barraging us. They're just disgusting. There's an achievement for chasing these guys off the edge of the map. It's a little difficult in this map. There's another map where they spawn later. Once you loop, there's actually a map they spawn on where it's a lot easier to chase them off the edge. And that's where I'd recommend doing that. Here's a drone, I think. I could get a missile drone. Why not? And a cool little shrine here. So we're gonna get here is actually we're gonna get the fuel cell, which is awesome. It reduces the cooldown of all your equipment and gives you a second charge of all your equipment as well. So I can use my drones twice. I can use my missile launcher twice. This is really crazy on MUL-T because he's got all those extra. Because he does have all those extra items. Now, or he can bring extra equipment. I am not able to shred that guy. He's just got so much HP, and the worm is actually a much tougher target for MUL-T to hit than most of the others because he's got a much more slim profile. So this definitely makes life a lot more frustrating or difficult, whatever you're gonna call it. So we're gonna zip on away. Now the Shrine of the Mountain is not something we're gonna activate. What it does is it gives you double the bosses to fight, or makes the bosses you fight more difficult, and that's not what we're trying to do right now. We're just trying to get through the level. We're just trying to stay alive. This map, as far as I'm aware, always has this hidden secret here. a gold chest. Now, in case you're wondering what a gold chest does, it's super expensive, but it's a guaranteed red item. So, if you're looking for reds, and you want reds, that is the way to go. And you can see how much damage we're doing to these guys with all those AoEs. Unfortunately, this annoying worm just will not die. Die, you worm. I don't know how much health does he have. He got most of him. He's almost a goner. That's something, right? There we go. You can see he just blacked out. That's because he is now dead. I do believe there was another gold shrine somewhere, and that is actually teleporter. So what we're gonna do, guys, is we're gonna get to this teleporter. We're gonna beat this level, and then we're gonna stop the video and just sort of do a little bit of summation. You can see just how much we get of an effect we're getting from all these on-hit abilities. This is like a mini boss, Elder Lemurian. These guys are very annoying. They fire a lot of fireballs and like crossfire. They can do a lot of damage. Later on, they can basically instantly kill you because damage scales in a ridiculous fashion in this game. We already were here. I don't know if I've already popped that chest. I believe I have. I remember there being you can see another artillery piece here, just camping, shooting. I do love the different aesthetics for all the terrain in this game. It's just awesome. How much variation you get, how everything just looks differently now. We stun that guy again. You can see the second gold chest down there on the low ground, actually, right there. So we're gonna pick that up hopefully, but first we're gonna explore the high ground. I did want to make at least this first video where we're covering MUL-T, and it's kind of the first of these videos where some of you guys might not know what the maps look like or might not know what everything is. I did want to make it a little more thorough, cover a little more. In other situations, it might not actually be the wisest idea. Oh, we got another red, the Frost Relic. So this is a kind of cool relic. It surrounds you. If I kill an enemy, it'll surround me with icicles that do 30% of my damage. So if we kill this guy, you'll see it. You can see that on the ground around me. It's like an ice effect. Pretty awesome stuff. Just looks so cool. One of the rare items in the game. It used to be, I think, a green item, actually, in the original Risk of Rain. So that is something that was changed. And we're just going to jump straight down and take a huge hit because our car mode expired. Now, we did get Bustling Fungus, so you can actually watch. We're going to sit tight, and you can see how Bustling Fungus heals us in a few seconds. The healing amount it gives you is huge. It's just that having to stand still in this game is guaranteed death. Now, holy heck, this map, we actually got 3 golden chests, so I don't know if we want to farm for those. Honestly, some of the red items in this game are really awesome, so maybe we will actually farm for those a little bit. Especially because I want to show you guys some of the items. And depending on RNG, you may or may not get the opportunity to see these items or demonstrate them. So, and before my luck is terrible and it's like all redundant items, but hopefully not. And you can see we just used up a charge of our rockets. Unfortunately, we don't want to stay in the rebar mode because it's just not that good against these guys. We need to defend ourselves here point blank. You could see there perhaps for a little bit the sticky bomb stuck to that guy. And you can see all the artillery pieces actually falling, the artillery falling around us. And that's because those annoying little hermit crabs are somewhere firing down on us, being a pain in the rear. We're going to summon some more drones because we can. Now you can see the cooldown is shorter, but still pretty darn long. It's not like it makes you... It's not like the fuel cell reduces... I think it's like a 15% reduction or 25% reduction to cooldown. So it definitely doesn't make it instant. Now hopefully we can farm this guy here. Now in general, whether or not you actually want to farm items was going to depend on the situation, the run, your exact goals, whatever. Obviously if you're trying to speed run for example get that weapon unlock on level 3 or whatever, you might not be looking to farm items, but we're actually going to do, you can see it. So when you see a different enemy like this, where like for example this guy's got horns and he's fiery, those are elites. Elites are tougher and have a special effect associated with them. So like lightning versions will Lightning versions will do some sort. I do believe it's like shock damage, fire damage. The guys will do damage over time to you. Or sorry, I do believe the lightning ones actually have a shield on them. That's what it is. They've got shield values. Oh crap! I clicked the wrong thing. I didn't want to activate the turret. So we got Ascension Meat Hook, which fires out meat hooks at nearby enemies. Fun little item. A bit silly, but definitely fun. Perhaps we'll see it here. There you can see it reaching out and hooking that, or trying to hook the enemy. And what I think we're going to do is we are going to farm this level, get that second red item, and then what we're going to do is we are going to activate the teleporter. And then we're going to pick up the last red item before we finish. Because there's just so many red items. So you can see the artillery, though, definitely doing some damage. It's actually going to be burning through our HP here. If I sat still there, I'd probably get wrecked eventually. See, you can actually kind of watch the artillery fire. If you look for it, you can sometimes find it. Or sort of search for the source of the fire. But it's definitely a little frustrating, especially when you're under a lot of pressure. Or being besieged from all sides. Looking for the artillery is not the funnerest. So you can see that guy over there. Trying to run away from me like a coward. And you can see the rebar launcher definitely does some good damage. It's not like it doesn't do much. It's just the DPS overall is low, especially when you're in a clutch situation. There we got another elite. I'm trying to think. There's definitely I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting some of the elites. Oh yeah, you do. I do believe you have ice elites, which, if I remember correctly, ice elites will slow you. I could be wrong. So there we go. We're almost done. We've almost farmed enough to get our final chest. How much we need? We need 3,322. Oh, give it to me. Gimme. There's actually this segment over here. I've never found it to contain anything. It's just kind of a cool little side gallery. There's nothing here. It's like a mine shaft, basically. That you can explore. You can sort of go through. But I don't think this ever contains anything. It's just like a place you can kind of walk through. I don't know if there's an intent to add something here. Enemies will sort of spawn, but I've never actually had enemies spawn in there either. That's one of those interesting things. I don't know if there's some plan with that. As you can see, I drive real good. So we're gonna pick up this chest here. See what delicious goodies we get. The rejuvenation rack doubles the strength of healing, which is obviously insane. If I stand still now, let's watch how much my bustling fungus healed me for 277 a tick. Just absolutely insane stuff. And you know what? We're gonna do the telly, and hopefully it gives us that last 3,000 gold that we need. Now you can see there are now 2 stone titans instead of just 1. So that's one of the ways that difficulty increases in this game. You can get elemental bosses, so you can get bosses that do like fire. You can get like titans that do fire or lightning or whatever. You can also just get more bosses. You might have to fight 2 titans, 3 titans. Excuse me. Whatever. There might be multiple bosses though. And you can see they're no longer really getting us that much HP. Or XP. Or sorry, gold. See, I can't even think. But obviously we are able to melt the boss pretty effectively. Bosses are not really a big threat to US multi. Later on, when they can one-shot you potentially, they can be a little frustrating. But in comparison to the difficulty, other characters who do damage who don't have the same DPS as multi has, bosses are basically a free kill. Now there are these unique items here, so there's actually only 2 of these in the game right now, I do believe. The Titanic Knurl, and then there's one that the Beetle Queen sometimes drops, which summons a beetle guard that fights for you. So one of those big baddies that slam the ground on an earlier level. It summons one of them to help you out. So these unique items, these yellow items, they only drop from certain bosses. So I do believe the Titanic Knurl only drops from the Stone Titans. and the obviously the beetle card only drops from the beetle queen. So fun stuff. Definitely some cool items. They're not necessarily the most powerful items, I would say, but it does give you a boost to HP and regen and all that. So not bad either. Now, I do believe we've actually cleared through like everything. We're actually gonna switch to the rebar launcher there. You can see we insta-gibbed that poor guy. You can actually see that annoying bugger over there. Now this guy, look at how hard they are to find sometimes. That was like super stealthy. And you can see it's definitely nice having a hit scan weapon at longer ranges like this. But I still miss because I'm bad. This is why this is not a first-person shooter channel, guys. I think there was one up there actually. I don't know. There's one literally 2 feet away. Yeah, guys, in case you're ever wondering why I don't do first-person shooters on this channel, now you know. Now, as you can see, these guys will always run away from you. So that's why there's a challenge to run them off cliffs, I guess, because they will run away from you. Oh, and these are by the way, these are lunar coins. So this is obviously a currency that carries over between games. There's a few achievements associated with it. The items that you get with lunar coins tend to be double-edged. I don't think there's any. They will always trade something for something. So, for example, one of the items takes away all your HP and replaces it with shields, and you get 50% more shields than you had health. So, on paper, the HP, for example, is like a lot more powerful, but shields don't regenerate passively or slowly over time the way health does. They require you to be out of combat or not taking damage for a little bit for them to activate. So especially later on, it can actually be incredibly detrimental. It can really screw with you and be a huge disadvantage. So I think it's just worth mentioning that the other lunar items are similar. They do like damage over time to you, and in exchange they do oodles of damage or something like that. It's variable. There's different types of weapons. I don't know if there's anything else. I do believe there should be more enemies for me to kill. If there aren't, it's gonna be disappointing. We won't be able to get the red eye, but I'm pretty sure enemies should keep spawning. They usually do after a little while. There's definitely an artillery piece somewhere around here. It's gonna be a sad day. I know there's also an item. I'm actually not sure what happens if I activate the challenge of the mountain after. Oh, there's a little marine. We're able to pick up some guys. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there's enemies now. So it's just weird. I don't know if these guys like bugged out or whatever. They lost their way. Oh, there's another locker. So lockers are kind of tough to find. Now it is cool to get like potentially like you get one rusted key and then you get a bunch of items. Potentially you can get like an item a level from that. So it's actually potentially a really good item that way. But obviously it's kind of difficult to find those keys. Definitely not the easiest thing ever. And it can definitely be a bit frustrating. So I saw him firing. Oh, there he is. These guys are so. Oh no, that's not him. I saw him firing from somewhere over here. Oh, there we go. I can't even spot him. He's like hidden among all those spikes. There's 2 of them. Now we've got enough. So we're gonna get our last red item, guys. We're gonna see what it is. I do. For those of you guys who feel like this is grindy, I apologize, but I do want to demonstrate the items a little bit and just show it what everything's about. These guys. Oh, so these are. You can actually kind of see them around my ankles. They let you jump higher. They negate all fall damage, and they let you serve butt slam. So you jump up and slam, and it does a pretty good amount of damage. So we're gonna leave the level now. That was it. Now I'm gonna be stopping the playthrough at this point. This was a game about MUL-T. MUL-T, definitely one of the stronger. This is actually Distant Roost, which I do believe we had in our short little commando run in my intro video to Risk of Rain. MUL-T, definitely one of the stronger lords. Or stronger lords. I'm used to Total War. I'm like, stronger lords. But MUL-T, definitely one of the stronger heroes. Very good against big targets, very good against bosses. Tends to is very beefy, very tanky, which makes him pretty forgiving if you're new to the game. Has some okay mobility, has a built-in stun, so he's just very well-rounded. His big problem tends to be long range because his DPS is just so low with the rebar puncher, and he's just so inaccurate with the minigun, so it's like a double whammy of badness at long range. But otherwise, he's definitely a very powerful hero. I'd rate him as probably the second, either the most powerful or the second most powerful, depending on how exactly you want to play or what exactly you're expecting your hero to do. I would definitely rate him up there with the engineer. This is actually another cool little item here, the wisp. Regardless, I don't want to hold you guys here with the video much longer. My recommendations for MUL-T is, well, he's probably going to be your best bet if you're new to the game and you're looking, once you've sort of beaten the first level a few times if you're struggling. I would definitely recommend MUL-T as an intro or easy character to learn. He's basically forgiving with any items he gets. He's just very solid. Ideally, if you've got choices, try to get a lot of on-hit items because he fires so quickly you can get a lot of value. Try to get items that can clump enemies because then you can throw grenades into them and you can take advantage of your rebar puncher. Unfortunately, we didn't get items like that in this game, but if you can find certain items, he's got some really powerful options. Otherwise, items that tend to work less well with him, stuff that... for example, items that work better on a single shot basis or improve single shots more obviously don't work that well. Now they synergize okay with the rebar, but rebar feels like a bit of a weaker option if you don't have the right items to make it work. And that's honestly like the only real downside to MUL-T is that he's gonna struggle at longer ranges, and items that buff single shot damage are not necessarily that valuable on it because rebar tends to do enough damage as is in most cases, and the cases when it doesn't, and you don't want to be using it too often. You usually want to be using the minigun, so that's definitely my thoughts and opinions there. Mobility items are also king on him. Now obviously he does have some mobility with his little escape, his dash, but being able to it's not quite on par with, say, the Huntress or the Commando's role. You don't have invulnerability frames. So getting some mobility items on him is very, very useful, I think. Perhaps not as useful as on like the engineer, who's completely immobile without help, but definitely very close. So regardless, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it entertaining. It's a pretty long one. It's Risk of Rain, so for those of you guys who don't really care about Risk of Rain, it might not be for you, but I do hope you guys enjoyed. It's a bit of a fun game. I'm going to be continuing a series covering each hero in the game over the next couple days. Probably, obviously intermingled with the new Warhammer content. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Hopefully you found it entertaining. If you have any questions about the game, anything you'd like to drop, any comments, critiques, whatever, be sure to leave them down in the comments, and I'll respond as soon as I can. As usual, I do thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.